We live?
Welcome. Hey, ServiceMonster. Let's see. Let me share this to the group here, and we should be live on all channels. Here out of Bellingham, Washington.
Just south of the Canadian border lies the city of Bellingham.
Let's go to the phones.
Now you're in Bellingham. We're at the top of the Puget Sound. Here everything's going down. Let's hear it for Behan.
Yeah, right. So hey. Oh, sorry. I was waiting for you to start, Adam. Hey, ServiceMonster people, it's been a minute. Hope you have been enjoying the entrance into summer and your 4th of July. These are the updates for ServiceMonster for July. Adam, what are we talking about today?
Yeah, like Joe said, I hope everyone had a good 4th of July. If you are here in the US and maybe had some family time, some barbecue time, no one lost any fingers or other digits. We have a lot of stuff to go through. There's going to be a lot of screen share, which I hope anyone watching is as excited as I am to show it with you guys. Kind of going through some of the items with the upcoming 6.7 release. There are also a significant number of SMUG posts we're going to go over, and just hopefully some good content for all of you guys. So the biggest thing, first and foremost, is a 6.7 release. We are nearing a completion. The month view and the FMS, custom fronts, self-service, all of that are the kind of flagship features that are tied to this release. But we also have a bunch of kind of smaller items. Some of these will be a big relief for a few of you guys, and there's a ton of bug fixes as well. So it's a pretty sizable release. And I'm going to kind of go through and show you guys mostly the month view. I'll show off some of the FMS stuff as well, but some of you guys have seen part of the UI already, and the really fun stuff is kind of behind the scenes. So won't be able to show all of that, but I'm going to kind of take that over. So hope anyone in chat is excited. If any questions come up, let me know, Asher, since I'll be kind of in screen share world here. But so first and foremost, month view. It's something that SM5 had to a small degree. It definitely had kind of the basics. The schedule over here in 6 has not had it, and it's been one of the biggest requests from especially some of our power users for a long time. And we're excited to actually roll this out. The view you're looking at right now is looking at multiple routes. So there's also a different view if you're looking at a single route for all of you owner-operators or smaller teams. It's a really slick way of just kind of looking at a particular resource or route, or just looking at the day as a whole. At first glance, you guys can see the biggest thing here is we have kind of an indicator shows how full the day is. And as it fills up, more resources, this will turn to yellow and then to red. Red days you can still schedule if you want, but you're likely going to be looking at potentially long days, overtime, etc. And so the real goal of this, if you just break this down to a single kind of primary use case, we wanted to kind of give you guys a really quick way to kind of just know which days are available. So you've got someone on the phone, they're looking at like, hey, Mondays and Tuesdays work best for me, but what's your schedule look like over the next couple of weeks? You can easily look at this. You can split your route to specific resources, right? So if you have maybe a rug job or tile and grout, maybe only certain technicians can handle that, et cetera, you can quickly jump to that view, know exactly what days have availability for that crew, that route, et cetera, and then dive in and get kind of the specifics as far as, what exact time should be arriving and so forth. And so the goal is to have the week view and the month view kind of work together in that way and sort of give this as a starting point. And so that's really kind of what the design philosophy is about. And that's why we have this indicator here now, which shows the percentage of the day that has been filled. Now, this will change depending on what you're looking at resource-wise. Like I was just talking about, if I just change this to a specific truck or a group, it would potentially change because you're going to have less routes that it's looking at. So the grouped view, like we're looking at here, is going to show you basically what the total amount of items that are scheduled. So appointments, activities, if you've got recurring reminders, if you've got Google events, anything that's on here, it'll just calculate all that, show you how many items you have under each category, and then you can select each day to get more details. So like if I want to look at the 4 items here, I can click it. You can see over here on our trusty sidebar, I have all these items. And what's really slick is you can expand these and get the full power, essentially, of the week view. So you can still email that customer. You can go through the completion wizard. You can, add notes, call, text, etc. Jump right into the order. You have the full power of those feature sets right over here on the sidebar without having to jump between week, month view, etc. So if you are a little more eagle-eyed, and maybe I should zoom in here a little bit, it's going to make it look a little less pretty, but might make it easier for you guys to read some of these things. We added a custom kind of view here for the sidebar, and we actually updated the week view to have this as well, especially useful for those of you who have a large number of routes that you're looking at. And basically what it allows you to do is look at the compact view, which is what we added here, which is just looking at, start and end time, what type of item is it, and what's the account side to. Really bare bones, right? We still have the color coding as well. Or you can jump to the normal view, which is kind of that expanded view, gives you more information on the service location, and so on and so forth, if that information exists. So go back to the compact view here. If you're someone who has just one route and you have that extra space, you can just go to your normal view and you have all of that over here and so forth. You can also jump straight to the week. So that's really kind of, like I said, the workflow, week and month view kind of working together. You can jump to the week over here, no matter what day you have selected. You can also do a bunch of just kind of quick action items. You can double click a day. You can right click for the context menu on any of the days. So it's really designed to jump between month view and week view. Now, first question you might have asked, because we loaded in here, how do you do that? Well, quick, easy navigation up here in the upper left hand. So I can jump easily between week view and month view, right? So as that goes. The other major change is tied to the single route view, which is what I was kind of talking about earlier. So if I just look at just route 1, truck 1 here, you can see that on the days, I actually see the full schedule. And if you've got a really busy day, by the way, all of these are scrollable. So like it'll basically be within the day, it'll kind of allow you to scroll. So you can see exactly what the color wheel is. If it's a work item, if it's an estimate item, you can see for all the activities, you can see, hey, is it a call activity? Is it a note activity? Is it a mail activity? You can see all of that. Google events and reminders as well. There's a reminder down here on the 24th, so you can see that. And again, on any of these days, you can expand over here on the sidebar and get that full detail. So very, very, very handy if you just look, again, owner operators, looking at a single route, et cetera. All of those examples, you get a lot of horsepower in doing this. You also can easily tell that we still kept the route totals up at the top, and we gave a few options tied to this as well. So if you go to your settings and you go to the display, which is where those route totals are, we actually gave you an additional option if you want to toggle these on. So some of you guys maybe turn these off, but if you have them toggled on, you can select what you want to have for your primary display. So basically, you can always have the primary display show your route totals for everything. So if you've got 5 routes, no matter what you've shown here on the view, show all of that. Or you can say, hey, I want the primary display to be just what I'm currently looking at. So you can say, hey, I'm only looking at truck 1. So show me the daily totals for just truck 1. However, we updated the tooltip so you can always see the total for everything if that's something that you need, just by hovering over that. So really trying to solve a lot of issues on this with making sure you guys can see how full the day is, how much money are you potentially making for that day, who you need to schedule for it accurately, correct, and being able to jump between month and week view very, very, very quickly. That was kind of the goal. So really excited to get this into your guys' hands. Make sure that help you guys be able to schedule with more horsepower. Now, one thing I know that will come up, because someone's going to probably ask, is, hey, can I view this on the quick add? The answer is yes. If you go to the quick add, you go to the schedule. Let me just grab an account here that my QA guys have had. The quick add schedule does allow you, it's always going to default to the week view, but it will allow you to view the month view if you want. I would recommend that when you get into this view, probably going to want to maximize, give yourself that additional screen space because you're looking at so much data. The one downside is you're not going to have the sidebar when you're in the quick add, but you do get the rest of that information to kind of give you as a starting point. So exciting stuff. The other thing, I'm assuming no questions have come in so far. The other item that is the huge part of this is the fill my schedule. So if I go into the fill my schedule section here, you can look at my totally fake, not fake company, has not used FMS before. I am presented now with a new page that has basically just a bunch of information on what FMS is. It kind of describes what the whole process looks like. It helps them understand what the client retention is and how it's tracked, how FMS specifically works. And if you have data in here, it'll actually calculate what your estimated ROI is on that. It's going to basically give you additional information on the data that we do track, what the price points are, the card designs that we have, testimonials, etc. And basically, if you're a new user, you haven't used FMS, there's a ton of data information in here now to help you understand what it is. You can also then go through a sign up and create your own setup. We have the 8-step default campaign that many of you guys are familiar with. You can select that or maybe just portions of that right away. And you can also go all the way through and create specific campaigns on the fly. So I don't have enough time to go through the entire process, but basically you fill in your information, make sure the company name and all that's correct. I can just zip through some of this really, really quickly. Select what your services are. You can edit your signature. You've got a whole bunch of signature fonts as a starting point, font size, etc. Your logo, make sure you've got that. Use your primary subscription card or use a new card for just to make sure that the charges for FMS are separate, right? So depending on that. And then this is what I'm talking about right here is the 8-step default program. You can select right here if you want to utilize all of them. We don't quite have the last few. We're just kind of testing the primary. But if you want the entire 8-step here, or if you just want, maybe the thank you, the 6 and the 12-month, right? So you can select that. And if I hit finish, it's going to basically create those in the system here. I don't want to, unfortunately, because this test account is something I'm going to be using to go through this test right after the show, but it'll create those campaigns, and then you can actually go in and make those little edits, little tweaks to the default verbiage, make sure that you've got, everything kind of highlighted the way that you want, etc. And you can create all new campaigns. Maybe you just want to do like a spring blast, a back to school blast, a holiday thing. You can create new campaigns for very specific purposes right out of the gate. You can use custom cards or use any of our default images that we have on here. It's huge in terms of like the options that you're going to have for this, and it's a pretty big deal, game changer in terms of the FMS setup. I think Joe wants to jump in here, so
because you missed the most important feature
about the custom fronts.
Custom fronts, baby.
Yeah,
you finally get to put your branding on top of the damn card. That wasn't a glitch. I said it twice because it's important. You say it 2 times. On top of the card, in the front of the card, in the back of the card, it is now all customizable. And so you can upload those. So this is coming out soon. If you want to beat the mad rush that Ryan Kittering will be dealing with, I haven't even told him yet, but we're going to be sending all design his way. If you want to beat that rush, then you might want to contact him now. Or if you haven't yet already, design your own and get that cinched up because they're coming. Adam, do we have a template yet? PDF template yet? For the front?
You mean like, yeah, as far as we have all the dimensions and everything you need to basically make sure that your image follows those rules.
That's good. Asher, can we make sure we get some template collateral so that we can, have that as a downloadable? We're probably going to want to put that within the framework itself. Something that's a PDF a PDF that'll work, layered PDF and or Photoshop file.
Absolutely.
And make sure we've got the bleed and cut edges designs, and we'll get that up We'll get that up on our website here pretty quickly because I do want you guys working on this. And if you're clever, you will have your custom front done before we release this update. Otherwise, you will go into a bin of some designer somewhere. Guys, look at 63% of our client base is use Fill My Schedule. And we've been doing this for, ServiceMonster has been around for 20 years. We've been doing Fill My Schedule for 12 or 14 years. And we've never offered custom fronts. I'm just saying, you might want to get that taken care of before this release comes out. So we'll get you guys the templates and the specs on those, but go ahead and get started to work. It's going to be 4x6 with a bleeding cut edge. You can get started with that. You could probably go to Got Print. Just off the top of my head, they have an open. You don't need a membership. You can go get templates. Go get a template for a 4x6 card. That's what you want. It'll be close, and then you can dial it in when Asher gets the one publishable for the ServiceMonster version. So I would suggest you go do that. Okay, thanks, Adam. This is looking good, man.
No, the whole thing is super exciting. Getting that power in your guys' hands. You can also just do solid colors. So like the back image, for example, most of the time the back is just a solid color. You can select your company color. You can put another image on there, with your logo, maybe with your van, the wrap, your entire company, like all your employees. There's so many things you can do, right? And you can also customize with some filters on who's actually getting those cards, right? So getting the power to your guys' hands, the custom fronts is huge, like Joe said. Obviously, then if you are interested in starting up, we have this whole wizard to kind of get you through that process much more smoothly. If you just want to change your card fronts, guess what? You can do that on the fly. Boom, next run has those card fronts. All of those things, you guys have to come through us right now to do those little small tweaks. All of that's going to be sort of moved over into this new custom self-help pipeline. So super excited for that. Now, as far as some of the smaller stuff that some of you guys, depending on who's watching, might be chomping at the bit for, one of them is merge fields, which in and of themselves are not the most exciting thing in the world. But one of the things we've been asked for a while, particularly for users who are in certain areas who maybe have a different date format, or if you live close to the border and sometimes there's confusion as far as which is the month, which is the day. We added some merge fields in here for both the current date and for the appointment dates, which basically allow you to change the date format to spit out the written out version. So if I do a quick preview here, you can see, hey, it's July 14th. You can add the day of the week if you want. You can add the year if you want. We split those up intentionally so you guys have a little bit more freedom as far as what you want to display in what manner, the email. You have all of those, and you also have the same thing tied to the appointment, which you can see here. We have that sort of the appointment, start date, long. So same concept. The other item is that we have the sales rep. So the order sales rep, we've had for a bit, but it basically was spitting out the data last name, comma first. So that's changed. And we also added this here for the email templates as well. So not only did we fix that typo on the order forms, we've added this on the email side. So again, both of these were surprisingly requested heavily. So hopefully that solves some of your guys' issues there. There are also going to be arrival windows on order forms as an option. So if you guys have, will have a default option, but you guys can also potentially add that to your custom forms. I don't have one in this test company, unfortunately, that has an order form or PDF form that has those. But the arrival windows will also be an option if you want that on your invoice, rather than sitting out a specific appointment time. So that will also be in this release. The other cool thing we added here is another batch tool. So this is actually one of those situations where it's a big improvement for you guys, and it also helps us because it saves one of our senior engineers some dev time. So on the activities list, if you're looking at pending activities, we added this section here. If you have a large amount that need to be basically converted, maybe you've got some old tasks or whatnot that just got missed, you just have to do kind of some cleanup. You can select multiple at a time, mark them as complete up here, gives you the count, update, warning, Boom. Bada bing, bada boom. They're now completed. So it's another kind of batch update tool, which again helps us have some more dev resources, because this is a fairly common request from a lot of you guys. And also it's just an easy tool for you guys. So on top of that, we have a bunch of just backend security updates that I know is not the sexiest thing in the world, but just a ton of things that David, our backend engineer, has been working on the last 2 months. So things going on there. Again, more of that's baked into this release. And then like tons of bug fixes. So excited to get this out to you guys. As far as release date goes, we're basically targeting the end of the month, early August. So be on the lookout for that. I'm excited to get this in your guys' hands. Whew. Man. Okay, let me drink some water here.
Was that it?
That's the 6.7 release. There are some other updates as far as the brochure website. So we hinted at that about 6 weeks ago, that the new brochure site is being worked on by the marketing team. They are extremely close to having that kind of mapped out. All we're going to say here is, we already kind of went into that a little bit. All we're going to say here is that just giving you guys a reminder, hey, new website's coming. Some of you guys will kind of see that, don't want that to be too jarring for our users. We're excited to get that out to you guys, and we'll have some really cool stuff on here when that's out with the marketing team, and kind of talking about that process and website design in general, and so on and so forth. So
yeah, we certainly can do a post-mortem on that project. I think would be beneficial. The brochure website itself, our customers, like you guys, don't really care about. Neither do our prospects, actually, right? But it may be jarring if you use that as your login vector. So that will change. I think the bigger point there, though, from a business owner's point of view, is like that general process. And just we bought the .com 3 or 4 years ago. We moved our existing site over, and that went fairly well. Asher did a good job on that. And business owner to business owner, I spent a significant amount of capital trying to uncover unknown unknowns. So from a growth point of view, I wanted to make sure we were good. We hired a fractional CMO, marketing officer, Fortune 500. These guys are heavy hitters. Of course, they cost a lot of money, but they came with a big team, and it wasn't an employee, right? It was a temporary, essentially contract. So we went round and round, poking at things, shoring things up, looking for soft belly that we could fix, and new pipelines that we had not yet uncovered. What we ended up finding out is there were really no unknown unknowns. So that's good. Very expensive price tag to discover that, but I do sleep better. But what came out of that was, your website really needs updated. Okay, cool. Let's do that. And I've never subbed out dev work, ever. As an engineer, one of the only chief architects in the SaaS leadership space, outside dev was just, I'm allergic to it. Zero for our product, right? Never. And our product has never been touched by outside hands. Our brochure site, for the first time ever, based off the fractional CMO, we got someone and we spent 25 grand and we flushed it down the toilet before it was done. Outsourced technical projects are notoriously difficult. If you've ever tried one and failed, you're in good company. 30-year technical CEO, and I failed at my first, let's do a project or product dev work outside of the company. Again, though, brochure site, right? Who cares? It's tissue paper. The cash hurt, certainly. And not having a site, like the 3, 4, or 5 months that it took to figure that out, back up and start over. However, if you guys remember Michael would be on podcasts with us. He was the Asher before Asher was Asher. And he left. He's one of the people that we have supported to start their own businesses. We've got 3 now. Michael's one of them. And he's been doing well with his own business. We wrapped back around to Michael after we killed that project and said, hey, dude, how would you like to build our site? And so we had him build the bones of it, right? The framework, the general layout, the structure, best practices. working with our team to create a really good package that then the marketing team and Asher could build and kind of massage. And so that's the project that we've been working on. That's about to launch and go live. It's exciting because it's right. That's our lead gen engine, essentially. I spent way too much time and cash on that particular project. So yeah, if you failed at external dev projects, don't feel bad. It's probably not you. It has always to do with communication, setting expectations, communicating clearly. And Michael's a great communicator. He knows the ServiceMonster culture, and he was able to communicate with the team easily. The other team were poor communicators, and I let the project fail because I wanted to prove myself right, if I'm being honest, not consciously, but I'm sure that's what happened. So anyways, there you go. Lessons learned. But what we end up with here with this release is a fabulous new brochure site, and it's dialed in. It has all the best bells and whistles and connection points and integrations. And so we're very excited to finally get this out. Adam, don't leave me alone. I don't know what I'm going to say after this.
You're not alone, Joe. Don't worry. Had to gargle some water over here so my throat doesn't get ripped up. So, yeah, there's some really, I think, interesting takeaways there for business owners, especially, as you're getting started, and it's, oftentimes just yourself or very small teams, right? You have a lot of hats. Joe talks about this all the time. We've got tons of content. Like, you're not just a business owner, right? You are the marketing expert. You are the salesman. You are the technician, right? And so oftentimes that's where third parties can kind of be very helpful, right? Whether it's a software, utilizing a CRM, utilizing QuickBooks for your accounting, that solution, or, working with a third-party dev. And so I think that's where the interesting stuff, the meat for your guys' experience is probably going to be, things you guys have to deal with in terms of building your own sites or using a third party. I think that's kind of where the interesting tidbits will be there. So thank you, Joe, for sharing that. On top of that, let's see, we're already at, oh my goodness, we're way into this already. So we have a ton of SMUG posts, and a couple of them involve some screen share, and I think that they're all going to be fairly useful for you guys one way or another. So let's dive into that. The first post actually just was a few days ago from Jim. He was asking about a calculator to the app, sort of when he's measuring an area and calculating square footage. And this is a fascinating thing to me. It's one of my favorite features within the app. Joe and I both love it, but we also both know that it's not one that necessarily has resonated to our users as much due to usability, confusion, whatever that might be. And they're called service items. You can kind of think of them as other apps kind of refer to the similar things as job specs, things of that nature. But it's in ServiceMonster, both in the mobile app and on desktop. And so I'll really quickly just show you guys an example of what that can look like. And if you're on an order inside the desktop, I don't have the mobile. I should have actually had that up with an emulator. That would have been easier. But if you're on desktop on any of your line items, you can basically, or services, you can attach to them what we call service items or specs. So you can look at over here on this right-hand panel. I've just made a couple of examples, living room and dining room. Now, the great part about this is once you've entered this in one time, it lives with this service site. So unless you have to make updates, you do a remodel or something like that, once you do this the first time, the base portion is in here for the next time you do repeat business. And it's really what helps you become the expert of their location, right? Of their home. And we have a great podcast episode that talks about that, by the way. It's one of my favorite episodes we ever did, Joe. Basically becoming the expert of their home. But anyways, long story short, what it allows you to do, you can actually see the calculation here. If I go in and edit this living room, pretty basic stuff, right? You give it a name, a description. You can add an image, right? So make sure you have the right room, right? The right carpet color, right rug, etc. But in the dimensions, you don't have to put, just a basic, it's 150 square feet. And it just does the quantity, right? This is a calculator. So you can say, hey, the room is 10 by 12. Let's subtract out. I have no idea what a bed is. What is a bed? 4 by 6, roughly, something like that. And boom, you've got 96 square feet. And you can do the same thing. You can add in closets, hallways, whatever that might look like. You can just do the full calculation here, and then it'll update the quantity. You can hit save. You can attach that to this item over here. So I can say, hey, attach this. Now I have a wrong line item here. Let's say 75 cents per square foot. Boom. I've got my quantity update. I've got the price tied to it, and it does the calculation there. So this is a very quick demonstration of that. It's on the mobile app, which is where most of you guys will probably use it. The office staff maybe has some of the stuff set up ahead of time to help them, but usually that's where the calculations are going to be, right, out in the field. But it's a very cool feature. I linked something for Asher, the service items help article. If you want to share that into chat here, Asher, if anyone is curious, wants to learn more about them, you can learn how to do that both on mobile and on desktop. So stop share for just a moment so you can see pretty faces here again. The next one I thought was interesting, and this one I have Joe hop back in there for some commentary as well. There was early last month, there was a post about group chats. So like chat apps that they were using. They were using one called Voxer. There are 1,000 chat apps, right? For being there's so many chat apps options.
Especially after the pandemic.
Exactly. When everything went remote, like they just exploded even further than it already was, right? Now, first off, I always like to highlight these posts. You guys probably get tired of me saying it, but anytime they ask for collaboration and questions from other business owners and whatnot, love seeing the feedback that you guys have in terms of jumping in, telling what you use, your feedback, your experiences, and so forth. But WhatsApp was one that was used. Slack is a big one, which is actually what we use internally. And I'll talk about that here in just a second. And then there's so many options. The big one that I've also seen is Ring Central. So if you use that for your internal phone system, they have a chat app as well for your internal use. So I've seen that one. Discord is actually one that I've seen a few examples of. The one thing I think that's important to talk about is if the app is free, what's the adage, Joe? If the app is free, you're the product. If you're having business communications, private in communication, you're probably going to want to be either very careful about what gets said in those. So like a Discord or a WhatsApp, those are free chat apps. They might have business oriented options. If they do, then that would probably be where you want to go. But I guess it's sort of a warning of don't necessarily go with the free option and start talking about maybe private details about customers or things like that, because just best practices, right? In terms of,
realistically, is anything bad going to happen? No, but when it does, it goes bad. Like it goes bad. And so it's just best to avoid it and dedicated pipeline. That's why Congress is still on BlackBerries. It's because they can't crack BlackBerry encryption. Like it's not just not allowed, but BlackBerry will refuse to hand over the keys, and they themselves don't know what's being said because of how their encryption works. So that's why BlackBerry is still a big popular Congress communication tool. Same thing with your business, right? I'm not saying you got to go get BlackBerries, but you should be using communication pipelines dedicated for business communication. If you're going to pay for it and get it, then you're going to get better guaranteed uptime. You're going to get better connectivity. You're going to get better business tools. You're going to get better, security. You won't be the product. You'll be giving them cash to keep your data, right? So, and usually they're fairly inexpensive. I like Slack. We've been through a lot. We've been through Ring Central. We've been through Microsoft tools. We've been through, we've been through a number of tools. I can't even remember Mattermost. Like there's some tools I don't even remember that we used for like 6 months or something, or the dev team used for a while that was different from the support team. We've used a lot. Slack is by far the best. And the reason it's the best is because it's adopted by everybody.
Yep. So is it the best? Yeah, yes, it's also the best technologically. But aside from that, even if it was slightly underperformant of something like Mattermost or, Facebook, which it's not, but if it was, it would still be better because more people are connected. Now, for a tech company, it makes all the sense in the world because everybody we communicate with at our level has a Slack account, and you can kind of create teams and huddles outside of your organization, which is cool because then your communication pipelines happen. So
assurance and claims adjusters? Like, what are you guys using? Is Slack a popular thing within your community? And then obviously for carpet cleaners, that would work too. So I would imagine there are some standards based off your communication pipelines that exist in your ecosystem anyway. So I would pay attention to that and choose the path of least resistance. Go with what's going to make sense for your company's communication and external communication with other companies and businesses.
Absolutely. Good stuff. And thank you everyone who gave the advice and sort of jumped in there. So the next one was another kind of just a feature focus here, and it was tied to Joseph was looking for a way to look up who's used a particular service. Can't remember their names, but they have wool carpet, which I believe I have as a separate line item. So this kind of ties into reporting and kind of ties into, it's fully tied into reporting. But I wanted to kind of just show this and also give a shout out to Ryan, who actually jumped in before Brenda or myself or anyone was able to jump in, outlining which report to look for. So let's see here. That one. So if we jump into our settings, I want to just very quickly show that all of your line items, so all of your products, all of your services, your price list, so to speak, all of these items, there is a group. And this group thing is going to be the biggest thing to help you have these kind of detailed reports and really jump in and find that. So if you look at the group section here, this test company doesn't have any. I'm just going to say, hey, let's put this into the carpet group. We'll just say wool because that's the example that we're using here. And I'm going to hit save. So this heavy duty carpet cleaning item now has a group that's attached to it. Every invoice that I make that has this line item on it will then start showing this in various sections. So there are dashboards that are tied to this, or reports that are tied to this, etc. Right? It's just a grouping tool. If I go into my reports, then, and I wish this test company wasn't brand new, so I could show kind of some actual data. We're in the test environment, so forgot to load up the reports here ahead of time. That's why it's taken a hot second here. There are a couple of reports. There's a detailed and a summary. I'm going to jump into the detailed here in the financial section. But this is basically, it's going to show you your revenue based on whatever timeline you have. So you could go back, to January. So just look at year to date, right? And you can look at specific groups, or you can look at everything as a whole. So I could say, hey, just look at this group. We'll look at everything. And I could hit preview. And if I had an item here, it's going to showcase which invoices, what the total count is, what the average tied to that is. It gives you a huge breakdown in terms of that. So it's going to allow you to look at things like maybe what are your most profitable or common line items that are being made. So one of the things that always come up, I think, during onboarding when I was going through that with new with new ServiceMonster users was sort of like, hey, I sell this one line item a lot, but I'm not paying attention to my margins on it. And like this sort of helps them break down at the end of the year. They can jump in and start looking at, okay, comparing the costs, in their accounting software. Oh my goodness, like, yeah, we're selling this, but it's at the wrong price point, things like that, right? So in this case, helps you find the account that might have used this in the last, let's say, 2 years. So again, useful stuff. Hope that helps anyone who is watching if you weren't aware of that. Another one that kind of came in, I think this is actually the same guy. Yeah, it was Joseph. A couple of things, diving into some new features. We'd love to see that. This is tied to recurring activities. So this is not a feature that we have directly. You can't just go in and say, hey, I have an activity, make this a recurring activity that happens, every 2 weeks. We don't have that specifically. But if you do have dedicated activities or tasks that happen, like a really good example would be weekly or monthly meetings or things of that nature that you just wanted to save some time, just want to make sure it gets blocked on the schedule and not have to constantly make tasks for that. Well, there is a workaround for that. And Asher, if this is the other link, if you want to post the help for that kind of blocking time link while I go through this, you can set up a recurring appointment. So if I go into the scheduling section here, there's recurring appointments. And I've already made this weekly meeting one. So you can either do a new one or I'm going to edit this one. Basically, just give it a name that makes sense, right? And we recommend if it's specifically for internal use, just have an internal account. So blocked time, have an account that's named after your company, something that makes sense to everybody, right? So they know right away, this is not an actual customer, this is internal, right? Then just figure out which route it needs to go on, right? Technicians need to be assigned. This route doesn't have default technicians. So, but I can put Fraser Crane there if I wanted. And then what time it is and how long it is, right? Then you just figure out, when is this recurring? Is it a weekly thing? Every 2 weeks? Is it a monthly thing? Is it an annual thing, which probably wouldn't fall into this category? Or is it happening multiple times during the week? You can kind of do all that. You can ignore the order portion because, again, we're not an actual client. We're not actually going out to do the work. We're just blocking that time. You can save that. The reminders will generate. And then if I jump back to the schedule, this one I know is on the 24th. I set it for the fourth Monday each year. I have a reminder now. It's called block time weekly meeting. I put it as weekly meeting. This should be monthly meeting. That basically just allows you then every time that rolls around, you'll now have that on your calendar. And if you have technicians assigned to it, they'll also see it on the mobile app. And there you go. You can just leave it in the reminder stat. You don't have to convert this, right? This is not ever going to be a work order, right? So you just leave it in the stat. And then if you want, you can dismiss it afterwards. But otherwise, it doesn't hurt anything to leave it on the schedule. So pretty neat little kind of advanced tips and tricks. And the article that Asher showed kind of shows how to do both, right? The recurring appointments and also just blocking time with an activity. So cool stuff. The next one was a post that Vincent had. He copied, he brought over from one of the other cleaning forums, because I remember I actually saw it in both in the same day and I was kind of confused. But he posted over in SMUG kind of a way that if you have missing Google reviews, so if they're legit reviews that are being blocked, hidden, whatever reason, posted kind of the steps to get a hold of Google support and how to update that. So I know one user went through it. Lori went through the process and she was able to get 44 reviews back. Vincent was the one who posted it. He got 30. So it takes a couple of weeks. You have to go through support, Google's support. And there's some basic questions you have to go through. But if anyone is in SMUG, wants to take a look at that, if you feel like Google is incorrectly hiding some of those, the algorithm is for whatever reason chopping those off, you can go through that, take a look at that post from back in June, and might be helpful for you. So, and I think that is it, Joe. Anything exciting that you want to jump in and then go over on, or?
I mean, there's always things that are exciting, but what are of interest to the listeners after we've talked for an hour.
Talk their ear out with AI for another hour.
Oh, dude, I could go on AI for days.
Yeah.
Days and days and days. And can a carpet cleaner use it for their business? 100% absolutely, for all the shit that you really don't want to do, which is amazing. Like all the emails that you want to write, they could totally help you do that. All the blog posts that you should be doing on a regular basis, it could be helping you do that. Don't let it do it for you. You can get in trouble. And if you're really sophisticated, there are tools that you can use to help you make sure that that's regardless. There are so many, see, Adam, you got me going, man. There's so many things that you could be doing that you would save hours a week easily. For someone like me, who's a polymath multitasker, who's needed multiple CPUs at my immediate disposal to keep up, like I'm going so fast, it's stupid. Like it's illegal. So anyway, if you guys aren't playing with it, you should play with it. Use ChatGPT, go play around with it. It's free. 3.5 is free. So just, explore. And if you just ask it basic questions, it's going to give you basic stuff. But I'm telling you as a technologist that it is the most significant advancement in our technological availability since the birth of the internet.
Yeah, that actually brings...
I have no problem saying that.
I think absolutely. Yeah. 10,000%. That actually, your last point there brings up a really interesting thing. There are a ton of people probably in your life, personal or business, that you think are incredibly smart problem solvers. They solve everything for you and so forth. And you know what one of their biggest skill sets is? They know how to use Google, and they figured that out way early on in Google's development. Because over time, Google did get easier in some ways and harder in others. Stupid marketers ruining everything with those.
Everything.
But they were very good at Google and understanding that. And the point that Joe made, if you're asking maybe the basic questions, the wrong questions, etc., that's going to be where kind of you're going to get held up on. And there are people who are looking at helping this. And so don't just go to just anybody, find a reputable source. There are
it's full of so much trash though, man. There's so many snake oil salesmen right now because it's the Wild West. So
don't buy anything.
Don't spend any money. There you go. Then you'll be safe.
Don't buy anything. Find people who are helpful, who are just kind of helping with giving prompts. That's the point that I was going to make, because that stuff is free to find, and it will help you kind of understand. It'll help you understand why those prompts are helpful, and then you can start expanding your own knowledge and become the expert yourself. So.
The easiest, quickest, slam dunk, one sentence thing I can give you to help you understand how to use it better. You won't understand what it is. It's like trying to explain the internet to a caveman, because it really does get that deep. It will treat you like you treat it. If you ask questions like a 5-year-old, it'll treat you like a 5-year-old and give you 5-year-old answers. If you treat it like a high-level expert and authority on a specific topic, and you want it to query you and challenge your knowledge on a given topic and have it explore for you areas that you're maybe unfamiliar with, help you clear fog of war and brainstorm, you can make it be a master intellectual and really help you through those process. So it will treat you like you treat it, because it's all predictive. That's all it's doing is predictive text. Like if you really think about it, if I say cat and dog go to, it'll guess at a word, and it's a 5-year-old word. But if I say, write some concerto and I ask for the next sentence in the concerto, it will give me the next sentence in the concerto. So that's kind of how you can look at it. And then, go from there. Sky's the limit.
Sky is absolutely the limit. So I think we can call it a day there, Joe. I hope that this screen share was useful. Hope some of you guys learned maybe a couple of things. Hope you're excited for the new feature sets.
Freaking monthly view is amazing.
Super, super excited for that. So
very good. And also, while we were on the podcast, I actually hit Ryan Caring for the first time because he doesn't know that this wave is going to come. So contact him, get your orders in, start getting that stuff prepped. Make sure you get that custom front that you want on your Fill My Schedule card taken care of before the rush, and we get this release out.
Yeah.
Then you can just kick it out on day one. You can be the first one with the custom front off the printer.
Hot off the press.
That's right. Very good. Well, again, thank you so much for your time and attention. Hope you found this valuable and useful. If you did, let us know. Maybe tell us we need to cut it short. Maybe we need to go long. I don't know. Very good. And we hope you have a great business through the rest of July. Enjoy.